On the dish this morning, the company that's been feeding America since the beginning. Founded in 1790, King Arthur was launched at the same time George Washington was giving his first State of the Union address. Ever since, it's been king when it comes to flour, the building block of our baked goods. Even after 230 years, however, times keep changing, as we found out on a recent visit. Nestled halfway up Vermont, near the border with New Hampshire, is a picturesque town called Norwich, featuring the Mecca of baking. At King Arthur, they make mouth-watering pastries and bread, sell baking products, offer a cafe.
King Arthur Baker's Hotline, this is David.
And even a call center where anyone with a baking emergency can reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's in the refrigerator, the yeast activity is slowed down quite a bit.
Not to mention a classroom where Amber Eisler, their school's baking director, showed us the finer, gentler points of the croissant baking process.
So we are going to whack this butter. So we're going to do that by...
Or not.
See how yours is flying off and mine didn't, right?
Yeah.
Give it a little twist of the wrist. All right, you're doing great. Okay. That's probably enough. Okay.
Violent.
It was violent?
Look at her, said look at you.
She said to whack it. Bam Bam and Amber will get back to the croissant making in a second. But first, a little more about this place. King Arthur is 100% employee-owned and built on the foundation of a famous red bag, a beacon to baking connoisseurs that recently got a different name and logo. Some people come in here and start crying.
We believe strongly in the power of baking.
Karen Kohlberg is the co-CEO of the King Arthur Baking Company. King Arthur was the flour company for 230 years.
Yes.
And then became King Arthur Baking Company. Why?
We want to be the teacher of baking. We want to be the inspiration for baking. Remaining relevant, being current, wanting to be around for another 200 years, we needed to change the rebrand and change the name of the company because we'd always been a baking company.
So now to form the croissant, we're going to pick up a piece of dough and just gently elongate a little bit. This will give us more layers as we roll it up. And then where there was that notch at the top, we're just going to open it up a little bit, and then we'll fold it over and begin rolling. So you can walk it all the way, or you can just roll.
Oh, yes, look at that.
Perfect.
Woo.
All right, there you go.
Thank you. Wow. We let our croissants rise for a couple hours and coated them in an egg wash before putting them in the oven to bake for about 20 minutes. The main ingredient is King Arthur's unbleached white flour. In 2020 alone, the company sold 156 million pounds of it. Martin Phillip is King Arthur's baking ambassador.
The mindset that we use to approach baking is different than what I do for cooking. Cooking is in many ways improvisational, right? Baking is not that. Baking is about setting a course and using precision to a degree to control what goes into the bowl to have the best outcome. The people who often do the best baking are like engineers or people like that who bring that mindset.
Because you're looking at something far off.
Yeah, you know, baking takes time. It's like making wine. Bread makers are like the wine makers of the sort of carbohydrate world.
Philip believes unconditionally in the power of baking to not just bring ingredients, but people together. Which is why after the 2016 election, he set out on a road trip back to where he grew up.
There was more division in society than what is necessary or even normal. And so I looked at food as a way to come together. And so I took the ingredients to make biscuits, put a banjo on my back, and got an old bicycle and went back to where I'm from in Arkansas and just started riding and cold calling homes and trying to talk to people.
Because you think biscuits and banjos can bring people together?
I think so. What I figured was that if they didn't like the music, they could at least eat a biscuit, you know what I mean? So it was a hedge a little bit. For yeasted breads, we want to control the temperature of the dough, right?
Today, Philip develops recipes for King Arthur and stars in their instructional videos, which reach millions. Is your goal to try to get people to eat new kinds of bread or to get better at baking the bread they already make?
Yes. Yeah, definitely both. I mean, what we want to do is write recipes which are based on the foundations of baking, which make beautiful bread, but also bring ingredients in that are compelling. So this one has Italian black rice and black sesame in it. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll trade you.
Give you that.
It's nutty as hell, right?
It's nutty as hell. I kind of like the thin cut.
Yeah.
I do?
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that community, is where, baking began and community grew out of that, I think. Food is where community began, right? And I believe that. And I see it every day because we produce content that touches people across the world and we hear from them. So the next time you're working on your baguettes or your croissants, you have a question, you can give us a call.
Ah, yes, those croissants.
Whew. All right, let's cut into one and see how we did.
Look at that.
Do you see that? Kind of the honeycomb shape.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Wow. They were so good. We established fairly quickly that I don't always have the patience required to bake properly.
You did not do well on the butter whacking.
I didn't whack the butter well.
Was that butter? I thought that was.
It's high-fat European butter.
Wow.
She told me to crush it, so I crushed it, but it was all over the place.
You know
All
what,
right.
Jeff? You did crush the piece.
This
How
bread
about
is
that?
amazing.
Yeah, so we have 5-seed sourdough in front of you.
Can I try this one?
Yeah, just take the loaf.
Tear a piece.
Sure.
Tear a piece
The
off.
5-seed sesame we have some butter here, there's some jam with it, and some honey.
By the way, it doesn't need
So try
anything on it.
Look
I've
at
been
this.
putting
You
stuff
see
on
this
it.
one,
It
though?
doesn't
This
need
is the.
anything.
I can't even get it.
I know that.
Look at this
that
thing.
one.
Look at this melon.
I know.
I mean,
take a piece.
isn't that
of
impressive?
Cut into that.
see
So
this thing?
good. Yeah. You didn't bake that though, right? So
I did
we're
not
on
make
it.
this. They sent it to us.